So wait a minute, what is domestic violence? Do you have to be an adult to endure domestic violence? Of course you do. It never happens within young relationships. It can't happen to teenagers because they don't even know what love is. Yeah, right. 1 in 5 teenagers have experienced physical or emotional abuse, and I am telling you that statistic is wrong. Not everybody goes to the police. They say it takes up to 35 times before somebody goes to the police, and I'm telling you, a majority of people do not. Young people are vulnerable, young people are scared, and they're isolated and alone in those situations. Domestic violence has no specific victim. It has no demographic. You could be from a public school or from a council estate, it doesn't matter. You could be of any religion, any ethnicity, any occupation. There was a recent event last year of a young woman, 18 years old, who took her own life because she was so abused physically and emotionally by a young man in university halls who went to private school. There are also young people who are suffering from severe mental health conditions, depression, anxiety, severe paranoia, turning to self-medicinal drug use, substance use. I've spoken to numerous young men and women who have suffered in silence. Never ever be afraid to speak about what you're going through. There is always somebody who can relate to you, somebody who can help you. Make sure you talk to somebody, your parents, your teacher, your best friend. Somebody can help you. Do not isolate yourself in those situations because it never turns out well. It is the hardest situation to go through. I've been through it. I suffered silently for 2 years before I went and got any help. I'm not a statistic. Are you a statistic? 1 in 5 is bad enough, and I'm telling you those statistics are wrong. Why are we not taught about it in schools? 16 to 24-year-olds are the age group most likely to suffer domestic violence, but it's not on our curriculum. Why don't we know about it until we go through it or we see somebody else going through it? Why do we have to suffer before we learn what could happen to us? We're not taught about support. We're not taught about how to help somebody. We're not taught about how to endure something and how to build ourselves back up to leave that situation. Why are we not taught to become the type of person who would never ever get in that situation in the first place? Where is this help? There's support, but only if you ask for it. You have to ask, you have to request a counsellor, you have to be referred, but then when you reach a certain age, you're too old for that help. You've got to pay for that help. What you have to ask yourself is, why is somebody who's 14, 15, 16 years old got such abusive tendencies? What has happened to them? Nobody is born with such an abusive mentality, such an evil mentality, vindictive, malicious. Nobody's born like that. There must have been something that's happened, and we need to find out how and why and get to that root cause and stop it. We need to intervene before it gets any further and before anybody else is hurt, any other lives are lost, and anybody else is damaged. Are you going to start looking around and questioning your friends? Why are you so quiet? Why have you had such a change in character? You have to be there for your friends. If you see somebody that's not even in your friendship group, but somebody you can see a change in their character, ask them, what's wrong? Be nice. You never know what anybody else is going through. Never leave anybody to suffer in silence or on their own. And that's the one message I need you to carry with you. There is always somebody going through something that you don't know about it. Or maybe you're going through it yourself. Always seek help. Never be by yourself.